Ready?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Good morning and afternoon, Tide Point members. We have several announcements today. We have chosen to have a virtual member forum today due to an increase in positive cases of COVID in the community. Personally, I have tested negative, but I do have symptoms and am taking treatment prescribed from my doctor, which is almost up. So I'm feeling much better from a little respiratory illness that has not been diagnosed as COVID. However, this week, Monday and Tuesday, we did have as many as 7 positive cases in the community. And we are taking precautions by doing contact tracing and notifying people who should be on quarantine. Quarantine now consists of not coming to the dining room to eat without a mask and not going to the fitness center as well. So people who have been asked to quarantine are asked to wear a mask whenever in public areas, not including the dining room and the bars, because then you would need to remove your mask and that would increase the chances of exposure. So we appreciate your diligence related to the COVID. We appreciate your compliance and your understanding. It just seems like we're almost out of it. I know that the famous Dr. Fauci announced yesterday that we are ending the pandemic phase. However, news comes out daily that may take exception to that. And our recent cases have resulted in about 24 people requiring quarantine until May 6th and May 8th. Also, today, let's talk about hurricanes. Our hurricane season officially starts in June every year and runs through November. We will be sending you a packet that we send every year with a letter from Daryl Baltimore, our Vice President of Operations, and a form for you to complete to tell us what your plan is. It's a good idea now to talk to friends and family to have a specific plan for your evacuation should it be necessary due to a hurricane. We have experienced several evacuations here, 3 to be exact, over the last 6 years. It's a very serious time. There is no option to stay. It will either be that we evacuate or we don't. So, when the time comes, you should have a plan in place, and that plan should be shared with us along with your emergency contact numbers, etc. As we get into June, those will need to be more specific. However, we will be sending out the packets that will include the forms that we will need to plan for an evacuation this coming week. They'll be in your in-house mailbox, and you can pick those up and please return them as soon as possible. And then we'll discuss more in the May member forum, things to think about as you plan an evacuation. The evacuations are generally to the west. We have been to Augusta. Columbia, West Columbia is also under consideration. as is Macon is typically another good location, or Athens. Those, particularly Athens, is very subject to football season, as is Columbia. When football games are being played, reservations are difficult to make. So Augusta has been a very reliable location, and we are working with several hotels in that area. However, if you're capable, then you should plan on an individual plan for you and with your family, with friends, etc. We will continue to discuss hurricane plans throughout the season, and we thank you for that. This was your first consideration. It gives you really a month to think about it. You don't have to wait after you receive your form. As quickly as you can turn those in is much better. Let's now talk about what's going on in our community. You will be receiving a tithe today, as well as the V-Living magazine today, that will tell you about everything going on in May. There are events that are non-food and beverage events that can be attended if you're on quarantine with a mask. However, if you are feeling symptoms or have any concerns, it's recommended that you use common sense and probably not attend those large events. We have trivia coming up on Tuesday, May the 3rd at 7:30. It will be a Name That Tune. We will ask that anyone under quarantine wear masks and also consider canceling that event. We have a World Affairs Council coming up, and that will be transportation provided to that event, and we will leave Tide Point at 9:15. Again, if you are on quarantine, you may want to consider canceling rather than going ahead. And please, we ask you to wear a mask if you are on quarantine to limit exposure. On Friday, May 6th, most people will be out of quarantine at that point unless we have more positive cases. We'll have a champagne reception on Friday, May the 6th at 4 for the Darn Yarn, Needles, and Thread exhibit. Many of our members enjoy this art, and there will be a reception and an exhibit that will be ongoing, with many of our members displaying their work in knitting, needleworking, quilting, crocheting, needlepoint, etc. It's really been a great group who's been meeting together and having great projects discussed. One big concern, which will be next Saturday, May 7th, in the ballroom, will be the Kentucky Derby party. We will have dinner in the dining rooms, and reservations through the concierge will be required. Now, we will open the formal dining room, the Magnolia Room, at 5 o'clock for those who may have the need to eat earlier in the event. The race doesn't begin till 6:45, but there are some folks who would like to watch the pre-event activities, and those people can make reservations in the formal dining room, also known as the Magnolia Room, at 5 p.m. And then Ed Warner will be speaking on Monday, May the 9th, at the Tide Point Talks, and it should be very entertaining to have Mr. Warner present at that event. Tide Point Salon will be reopening next week. We hope to begin the new salon opening pending a DHEC inspection of the property. And then we will be able to open. We're anticipating having that happen next week. We will have a reception for members on Monday, May 16th to introduce Gail Parker, who is our new salon operator, to members. So please come and meet Gail. Tell her about your hair concerns, and she'll be glad to take care of those. Then many more events will be listed in the Tide, and we really are hoping for a live member forum on May 26th, which we will talk much more about the upcoming hurricane season. Again, we thank you for your compliance with necessary quarantine to limit exposure to positive cases that are in the community. Your common sense and compliance is much appreciated. Feel free to call the Wellness Center to discuss any concerns and particularly any symptoms or home tests that may be positive that will help us stem the tide on this last little resurgence. The good news is that their cases countywide are much lessened, and hospital usage is down as well. So we're making great progress on that. However, people are still having colds and coughs, and those should be tested and confirmed that they are negative. And then also, if you're asked to quarantine, please do so and do so reasonably. So we thank you for that. Be expecting your hurricane packets in the mail, in the in-house mail, very soon. And feel free to discuss those with Carrie Rodriguez in Member Services. She'll be glad to meet with you to discuss your plan and help us make plans for the upcoming hurricane season. So I thank you for having me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the near future, hopefully without masks and in great celebratory mood.